be giving his second speech out of Pathways. He has dusted off a speech he delivered 2 years ago during the Christmas holidays. Incorporating the evaluations and comments given then, he is eager to deliver it again. The title of his speech is Merry Christmas. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Mark Shear.
Imagine yourself as a child, tucked in bed on a cold winter's night. It's late. You lie there motionless in complete silence, hoping to hear that distant sound of sleigh bells. Soon you fall asleep. But before you know it, you awake, and you frantically dash to the Christmas tree, which is surrounded by a multitude of gifts. Sure enough, you missed him again, but you know Santa Claus was there. Only cookie crumbs and a few sips of warm milk remain. Yet something happens as we get older. Santa Claus tends to fade away. Although he's now gone, most likely he was real at one point in your life, solely because your mother and your father said that he was. As real as Santa Claus is to a child, so are many other individuals real to us as adults. Each one of you in this room has a role model, or an individual that has impacted your life. In most cases, you never met them, you never spoke with them, and you may not even know what they look like. Yet you wouldn't question their existence for $1 million because you learned about their lives in a history book, you read about them on Wikipedia, or someone told you about them. Take Christopher Columbus, for instance. That dude had a really cool job. He was an Italian navigator, and he explored the world. And we know in 1492, he sailed the ocean blue to discover the world, and discover he did. And the very fact that he discovered beautiful islands such as San Salvador, Antigua, or Puerto Rico are not questioned. But please, raise your hand along with Toastmaster Roy Shear if anyone in this room set sail with Columbus and his crew in 1492.
Remember him.
Let's look at the life of Abraham Lincoln. It is a fact that he was born in 1809 in one-room log cabin. We all know he served as the 16th President of the United States, and in 1863 he moved to abolish slavery. And we also know that Lincoln died with a fatal bullet to the head fired by John Wilkes Booth. But how many of you were there in that balcony that devastating evening? And think about the impact that that one man has made on your life and our lives today. What about Neil Armstrong, the first man that ever walked the face of the moon? Who of you were there when he stepped out on the lunar surface and stated, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind"? And this list could go on. And I could talk about the historical figures that through their very existence have impacted and altered not only our lives, but will impact the lives of our children's grandchildren. And the very fact that they did exist is not dependent on whether you knew them or not. Rather, you know they lived because someone wrote about them. Or you've actually seen in your life today what they were able to do. So that leads me to one man. A man who has made more of an impact on humanity than any other human being that has ever walked the face of the earth. In fact, our very calendar is based on this one individual. Our court systems and our laws have been established based on his personal characteristics and attributes. Nations all over the world have engaged in war because of this man's influence. Let me quote from a poem called One Solitary Life. 19 centuries have come and gone. And of all the armies that have ever marched, and of all the navies that have ever sailed, and all of the parliaments that have ever sat, and of all of the kings that have ever reigned, nothing has changed or altered the life of humanity as this one solitary life. And what's ironic is that the greatest history book of all times predicted this man's life, described this man's life in detail. It was written by people who actually ate with him. They touched him. They laughed with him. They cried with him. Yet there has been no other human being that has been more rejected or denied than he. No, this is not Santa Claus. But he is the true reason we celebrate Christmas. He's not about fighting crowds at Best Buy or racing from one party to the next. He's not about spending a bunch of cash on those that are close to us. But he is all about being kind, loving, and he wants every single one of us to live a life helping and serving others. So, during the hustle and bustle, fellow Toastmasters, of getting prepared for this Christmas, let's all take time to remember a man named Jesus is the reason for the season. Merry Christmas.